Well, hello everyone, Linda Vater here, and welcome to my dining room and my holiday tablescape for this year, or at least one of them. I thought it might be kind of fun for me to go over what my inspiration was for this year's centerpiece. Obviously, it came from the garden, how I put it together, some behind the scenes products and things that I used, and other considerations I take into account when I entertain. And I just thought it might be kind of fun to show you, give you a little sneak peek behind the scenes. So this year, I had 2 points of inspiration. Number one was this gorgeous rectangular copper planter. There's a shallower one over there on the buffet that my son's girlfriend wanted as a gift. And I thought, you know what, maybe I will put them to use first and then gift them to her because they were just glorious. And I wanted to kind of play up that beautiful coppery sheen, almost part of that rose gold trend, kind of. And then the second thing, and probably the primary thing, were these gorgeous early Wonder Camellias blooming in my garden. They're part of the Southern Living Plant Collection, and they are beyond spectacular. I have a number of the camellias from that collection, but these are by far my favorite. They have a shape and form that is just exquisite, and the color is just fabulous. And I think they look beautiful in here with my red walls. So that's kind of what came together. And this composition I think would work for either Thanksgiving or for Christmas. Even though it's in a non-traditional palette of copper and camellia colors, that's hard to say, copper and camellia, it could nevertheless, I think, work for both events. This is actually my Thanksgiving table, but it would be beautiful at Christmas time as well, because even though it's a non-traditional color palette, either for Thanksgiving or for Christmas, in these pinks and coppery hues, I've nevertheless incorporated very traditional earthy elements from the garden. And here I've got nandina berries and oak leaves, some giant sugar pine cones, even some cypress branches, some of my beloved redbud leaves, and some more pumpkins and gourds. And what I did was I just spray painted them. And you can barely tell the difference between the copper metal and the coppery sheen on these different garden elements. And I love the way they reflect in the container itself. These containers came from Gardener's Supply. They're really, really beautiful. They're watertight. So basically, I spray painted these pine cones and pumpkins and leaves and such that I gathered from the garden with just some spray paint that I got from Home Depot. You could get it just about anywhere. And it is just a Rust-Oleum product. You want to make sure that you get the kind that's got a metallic finish. It looks kind of orangey in here, but it really is very much a coppery metallic finish. And on a pretty day, I just went wild and I spray painted almost anything that would get in my way. So I spray painted these gorgeous sugar pine cones. I got these at Trader Joe's. I've even got some hydrangeas here, some white wedding hydrangeas from the Southern Living Plant Collection, and I spray painted those. I spray painted little acorns. Let's see if I can get one for you. Acorns and some small pine cones. Basically anything that looked attractive to me that I thought would be pretty in the composition, I spray painted those. And then I just tucked them in to the window box and inserted, where I kept a void, just a couple of small vases that the camellia blooms were then tucked in. And basically that's how it came together. I always set my holiday table far in advance so I can enjoy it for a long period of time, since it's just so beautiful before the actual event, and everyone can see it and enjoy it. And then actually right before the meal itself, I'll take the centerpiece off, I'll put it someplace else on a sideboard or in the living room, so that the food and the bottles of wine and other things that we use for the actual meal itself will be there at the ready. But this way I can enjoy it, and it can be in my dining room center stage for quite a long time. And let me tell you, these early Wonder Camellia blooms last for a long time, which is a good thing, because not only do I have them in water and in vases in the composition itself, and in this pretty little vase here, kind of a pink metallic vase. I found at Goodwill, no less. I love going thrifting. But I'm also using them to adorn the place settings and the napkins at each person's chair at their table setting. And how I've done that is by creating some napkin rings out of just some picture wire. So I've got some copper wire here that I got again from the hardware store, and I just molded them into a circular shape. I tucked in my napkins, and then I tucked into the little hook that I made here. I tucked in the camellia blossoms, or I will tuck in the camellia blossoms right before we dine. The buds are gorgeous too. And they actually stay looking fresh out of water for quite a long time. And then I will tuck in or suspend, maybe with some copper string, some of these cute little pine cones that I also spray painted copper, or some of those acorns as just a little additional tassel embellishment at each place sitting. I think it makes it really special. And then my guests can take home that camellia blossom to put by their bedside table, or as just a little keepsake or a memento from my home to theirs. Then this year I did something really special to me. I had a rendition of My Housemaid by a local artist emphasizing my garden. And I took those photo files to make napkins and place cards that I will be able to use for many different occasions. And I will put everyone's name on their respective place setting. Some of them I have just my household name on them, so I can use them also for gift tags or for other purposes. I made these through an online company, and I think they just make a really special statement on my table. Plus they match that kind of pink vibe, pinky corally vibe that I've got going. Now I have a number of different table linens that I use a lot. This one actually, because I like to use things in as many ways as possible, is actually on the table inside out, because the opposite side is a far deeper red corally color, and the other side, when turned over, has more of that camellia pink hue to it. So it turned out to just be perfect for this tablescape. and I really like the way it looks. Again, kind of a non-traditional color palette, but very seasonal because it's this time of year that these camellias bloom their heads off. And all of these other elements from the garden are also very, very seasonal. So that's kind of fun. I always try to put a couple of salt and peppers on either end of the table to make them as convenient for my guests as possible. You can see over here I still have some unadorned napkins with my wire napkin rings on there. And I will probably light later some more votive candles to set around the table because of course everyone looks so much more beautiful by candlelight. And before the holidays, I buy votive candles and tapers in bulk, always in cream or white. I'm not really a fan of colored candles, and they're all unscented, so they don't compete with the food on the table. I get them off of Amazon. And in fact, I'll show you kind of a behind the scenes. I keep them in large receptacles scattered around so that one goes out, I can easily replace it. Here's another one of the shallow trays that I've got my cut camellias in so that I can put them on the rest of the napkins. I could also use this for my secondary table. I have about 14 or 15 people coming, and I can use this on my secondary table and just tuck some votives in there. They're just floating in water. This again is watertight, so I can put water in there, and it's really beautiful. And these candles are about to burn down, so I'll have to replace them, and I keep my extra candles in the sideboard. And here are the giant unpainted pine cones that I got from Trader Joe's. They are really going to be beautiful, and they may also end up someplace in my Christmas scape, whether on my table or around my tree. Some things I've learned over the years from hosting holiday dinners at my home are the little things. I went ahead and had my son bring up the extra chairs for the other place settings that will probably need to be squeezed in at the last minute so they could be dusted off well in advance, and I'm not doing it at the last minute. Likewise, I always assign someone to be the person who puts all of the ice cubes in the water glasses. I make ice in advance so that we are ensured that we never run out. Someone gets assigned that task. Most of the cooking, these my guests are both family and friends that come for the holidays every year, and we've done it long enough that pretty much everyone has their own assignment and they know what they're going to do for a traditional turkey meal or some other kind of holiday meal. And I always request that they leave as much mess at home as they can so that my kitchen isn't just consumed with dishes at the end of our feast and everybody can sit and kind of relax. And the mess is then diffused over multiple households and not just mine. And then later I will set up over here. It's not done yet, but the theme continues with a copper tray and a copper berry wreath here and some other copper elements where I will have my dessert bar set up on a dessert cart, and that will be something that I'll show you at another time. But I'll show that to you sometime in the next week or so. So there you have it. My holiday tablescape idea for this year. It's very easy to put together. I think it's creative. I think it's fun. I think it's personal. And it's all inspired by the garden and those gorgeous early Wonder Camellias, copper and camellias.